Hi everyone. So we are now going to go through our demo of our Libby basics this morning. We're going to start with downloading and signing in for the very first time. So if you are ready to download the Libby app, you're going to go to your App Store. So for my Apple users, we're looking for our blue App Store icon. If you're on an Android device, you'll head into the Google Play Store. It's that multicolored play button or triangle, just wherever we typically go to download a new app. From here, we'll go to our search tab, and in the bar, we're just going to type in Libby, Libby, and then we'll tap on search in the device keyboard. When we do this, Libby's going to be one of the top results to pop up, and we can see right here, Libby by OverDrive, that maroon app with Libby reading her book. And from here on your screen to the right of where it says Libby by OverDrive, you should see Get or Install. So just tap on Get or Install to let that app download. Now, Libby is completely free. You may be prompted to sign into your app store, so just have those passwords handy, but there is no cost to download and use Libby. Once Libby's all downloaded, we'll leave the App Store and head over and find that freshly downloaded app on our screen. So we're looking for that same maroon icon. And when we tap in for the first time, Libby has a few questions for us to help us find our library and get signed in with our card. We only need to do this the first time we set up our device, and then going forward, Libby will remember everything for us so we can dive right back in. So the first question here, do you have a library card? I'll say yes. And then I am just going to point out two things here. I recommend using I'll search for a library, and we'll dive into that in a minute. But I wanted to point out this top option, copy from my other device. So I use Libby on a few devices. I use it on my iPhone and my iPad, and sometimes on my computer at work. And so to set up that iPad and that work computer very quickly, I used this option to pull all of my info in from my smartphone. So you'll get your phone or your first device set up, and you can remember copy from my other device when you're ready to set up those additional screens. So with that mentioned, let's hop into I'll search for a library. Now I like this option because I can search by my library name, the city I live in, or my zip code. I'm going to go with zip today. I'll type in 44134. And I am looking for, there we go, Cuyahoga County Public Library. Now you might see the branch you go to, like the address of it listed, but what we're actually looking for is this name up top, Cuyahoga County Public Library. That's the name of your library's digital collection. And all 29 branches that you see here share this one big digital home. So we're going to choose this box by tapping on it because we're looking for that digital collection. And we'll wrap up download and sign in by entering our library card. So I'll tap on Enter Library Account Details. And then from here, I just need to type in my card number. Now the card number is going to appear usually under a barcode on your library card. If you have any troubles while signing in here, if you have a problem with your library card, or if you're prompted for a PIN but you don't know it, or you can't sign in, just reach out to your friendly neighborhood librarian. Once that card number is entered, you'll tap on Next. And now is when we'll type in that PIN. Sometimes your library will give you suggestions, like you can see where it says, here's some help. But once again, if you have any trouble during sign-in, reach out to your library. With those entered, we'll tap on Sign In. And there we go. My card has appeared here on the screen. I can see my number of loans at a time and my number of holds. To wrap up, I'll just tap on Next. And now I have access to my library's complete collection of eBooks and audiobooks. I'm going to hand it over to Marissa now, and she is going to take us through the basics, everything we need to know for our day-to-day life and enjoyment of the Libby app. Marissa is using a demo library today from OverDrive. So you're going to see a different library on her screen, but everything functions exactly the same. You might see some additional features or lists, but everything works just the way you'd like it.
Now I'm going to get my demo library pulled up here. So there we go. Now, I am going to give a final reminder here about the zoom ratio. So sometimes when we share our screen, Zoom will cut off the bottom of my screen here. And I want to make sure everyone can see that. So at the bottom of the screen, there's a navigation bar. There are 5 icons within that navigation bar: search, library, the Libby icon, shelf, and timeline. If you cannot see those, then Joe is putting out instructions in the chat right now on how to change your zoom ratio. It's just a couple of clicks. It takes just a few seconds, and then you'll be able to see the full screen view, and that will really help you follow along today as we go through our demonstration. So we are going to talk about all of these icons at some point in the presentation, but we're going to start off today here at the library icon. So you see it's a little library building with the word library underneath. This is going to be where you go to browse your library's digital collection. So when you're at the library, you don't know specifically what you're looking for. You're just kind of walking around the library virtually and seeing if something sparks your interest. So at the top of the library page, you'll see some filters. These filters are a great place to start looking for books in Libby. You could tap on Just Added if you want to see a list of titles that were recently purchased by the library. And so those are going to be the newer titles there. Popular and Random speak for themselves. Available Now is going to be a list of titles that currently do not have a waiting list. So if you're in a hurry and you want to borrow something right away, Available Now is a great list to look through. And then last but not least, we have subjects. So if you're a genre reader, that's what we refer to by subjects in Libby. Maybe you like romance or history or historical fiction. You could tap into subjects and you will be able to browse lists by those subjects. Now, as we make our way down this digital collection page here on the library tab, you'll come across the section called Guides. Now, these guides differ from library to library, so yours might not look exactly like mine do here in my demo library. But what it is a way for the library to point you in the direction of certain content based on a specific criteria. So a good example of this are the kids and teens guides here. If we tap into these, this is going to allow us to browse curated collections for those age groups. Now, as we make our way farther down the page, that's when you're going to start to see general curated collections put together by the library. Now, these are a lot like if you were to walk into the library and see an end cap that displayed beach reads in the summer, and then when you go back in the winter, that switches over to holiday recipe guides or cozy mysteries. This is just the digital version of that. So these curated collections are going to change all of the time because the library always wants to show us something fresh and new. Now, like I said, the library icon is what you're going to tap on when you want to browse the library's curated collections and filters. You don't know exactly what you're looking for here. If you do have a specific author or title in mind, that is when you can tap on the search icon instead. It looks like a little magnifying glass. It says search underneath. When you tap on search, you will be able to type in that specific author, title, magazine, or series name. I'm going to type in Shift. It's a new romance that came out this year. And then I'm going to tap on search here in the device's keyboard. So now that we're looking at the search results, there are 2 things that I want to point out here on this page. The first is going to be how you can tell the difference between an ebook versus an audiobook visually. So the library actually purchases those formats separately, and that means you can't borrow an audiobook and then decide you actually wanted to read it and switch it over into an ebook. So when you want to listen to a title, what you're going to look for is a square jacket cover. I always like to say it kind of looks like a CD case, as that helps keep it straight in your mind. Right underneath, you'll see a set of headphones, as well as the duration of the audiobook. So those are 3 visual indicators you can use to know if that's going to be a book that you listen to. If you want to read the book instead, you're going to be looking for a rectangular jacket cover. So it quite literally looks like a book there. You're going to read this type, and that is going to be how you know that that's going to be an ebook. Now, in addition to how to tell what's an ebook versus an audiobook, I also want to point out how you can tell if a title is available to borrow right away or if you need to join a waiting list. So you'll see the audiobook version of Shipped says place hold right next to the jacket cover. That means there's currently someone reading every copy that the library owns, and so you'll have to join that waiting list to wait your turn. Now, this is a very simple process. All you have to do to join a waiting list is tap on place hold. This is where you'll be brought to the confirmation page. And down at the bottom, you will see approximately how long it will take this title to get to you. And then when you want to confirm that you want to place the hold, you'll just tap on that big maroon button that says place hold. Now, once you have that confirmation, Libby's going to give you a few options for what to do next. Typically, when you place holds, you want to jump right back into the list that you were looking at, right? So I'm going to tap on keep browsing, and that will take us right on back to the search. You'll see that now the audiobook version is indicated that it's on my hold shelf. Now, the borrowing process is just as easy. You could tap on borrow next to the jacket cover, or if you don't know what a book is about yet, you can tap directly on the jacket cover itself to view its details page. So you'll get to find out what that book is about, and if you do decide that you want to borrow it, you can tap on borrow right underneath that jacket cover. Now this brings us to the borrowing confirmation page. And this page does have an important feature up here at the top. You can see that we're borrowing Shipped for 14 days. Now, 14 days is the default lending period at the library, but you do have the option to move this loan and lending period up to 21 days if you'd like. So you tap on 14 days, select 21, and then that will be your default period moving forward. So you won't have to keep coming back and changing it to that 21 days. You'll just have to do it once per format. So once per ebook, once per audiobook, and then you are good to go. Now that we've changed the lending period, we're good to confirm that we want to borrow this book. So we'll tap on that big maroon button that says borrow. And now we can see that Libby is downloading this title for offline use. Libby does this automatically when you're connected to Wi-Fi. And as soon as that is done loading and turns into a library card with a little check mark on it, that is how you know you now have offline use access. That means you can take this book anywhere you'd like, whether it's on airplane mode, up in a plane, or out in the woods without any cell service. You'll still be able to access and enjoy your book. Now I'm going to go ahead and tap on Open Book. And this is where Libby is going to ask if we want to read the book in Libby, so in the app that I'm showing you now, or if you have a Kindle device that you prefer to read on at home, you can select Kindle instead. This will prompt you to sign into your Amazon account, so make sure you have those Amazon credentials ready. And then there will be a big gold button that says Get Library Book, and once you tap on that, it will be delivered to your Kindle. Now, today is all about Libby, so I'm going to open the title in Libby so that we can talk about a few key reading features within the Libby app. When you first open a book, you will have menus up at the top and the bottom of the screen. This lower menu is going to show you your reading progress, so you can see we're on page 1 currently of 333. Once you want to begin reading, all you have to do is tap in the center of the screen to drop those menus out of the way. and you can begin swiping or tapping on the right side of the screen to page forward. Now I'm going to move over to a big chunk of text here. There we go. Because I want to show you how you can customize your reading appearance to meet your own individual needs. So I'm going to tap on the center of the screen here to bring those menus back up. And then up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see an A icon. That A stands for appearance. So when you tap on the A icon, it will bring up your appearance menu. Within your appearance menu, you can change a few different things. The first is the text scale, or the size of the font. You can use this slider to increase or decrease your font size. Next, we have lighting. We're currently in bright mode. That is Libby's default, but we also have the sepia and dark mode available if you want something a little easier on your eyes or you like to read at night. Last but not least, we have book design. Now that's just Libby's fancy way of saying font. So these are the different font styles that you can put Libby into. There's a whole collection here you can use. I always like to point out this open dyslexic font because it may help some users with dyslexia while reading. Now I am going to put these back to the defaults here before I close this menu. And the reason I do that is because these settings are sticky. And what I mean by sticky settings is you only have to make these changes to your appearance once per device, and then Libby is going to remember those customizations for you and deliver the title to you with those customizations in place. So you're not going to have to keep coming back and making those adjustments. All right, I'm going to tap on hide here. We're going to drop that menu out of the way. And then we're going to leave this ebook and pop into an audiobook to talk about a few things there. So I'm going to come up to the top left-hand corner here and tap on back. Just remember, if those menus are not on the screen, you just have to tap in the center of the book and that will bring those menus back up. Now this has taken us over to the shelf. And this is where I reorient everyone down in the navigation bar. So we're going to head to the bottom of the screen here. The first thing I'm going to point out is this Now Reading bar. This Now Reading bar is Libby's way of giving you easy access to the very last book that you had open in the app. So anytime you see that bar, you can tap on it and it will jump you right back onto the page you left off on or the spot in an audiobook, and you can enjoy your book right away. I'm going to dismiss this for now, just so we can see the full navigation bar down at the bottom of the screen. So first we tapped on that library icon, and that's where we could browse the library's digital collection. Remember, when you're looking at the library, you don't know exactly what you're looking for. You're just kind of seeing what they have available and seeing if something sparks interest. It's all about browsing. Then we tapped on the search icon. That is when we did know what we were looking for specifically. So this is where you can type in a title, an author, a magazine, or series name. We're now over on the shelf. It's the icon that has that stack of books and says shelf underneath. This is going to be where you find all of your current borrowed books in Libby and your current holds. So those books that you're waiting for on the waiting list. Up at the top of this page, you can tap on these filters if you want to look at your loans or holds individually. Here on the main page, you might see a mixture of the two. It does organize your loans by most recently opened. So you can see the book that I just borrowed with you here up at the top. And then as I make my way down the page, those titles are titles that I've borrowed earlier in the week. I'm going to open up this audiobook here by tapping up on Open Audiobook. Now, up at the top of the audiobook, you'll see your percentage, your progress here. So I'm 24% of the way through, 54 minutes in with 2 hours and 47 minutes left to go. Down at the bottom of the screen is your player. So you can tap on play to begin listening to that audio. Now, I can hear him on my end. You shouldn't be able to hear him. Instead, you should be able to hear me. But the most important thing I can tell you about the audiobook experience is that Libby is designed to play in the background of your phone or tablet. So what that means is you can tap on play, you can minimize the app or put your screen to sleep, and you'll still be able to hear that audiobook playing on your device. Now, with that in mind, what I always like to tell people is when you're done listening to the audiobook, make sure you tap on pause. That's going to stop the narrator from talking, and then you can move on with your day without having to worry about losing your place. So when in doubt, tap on pause and you'll be good to go. All right, I'm going to come up and tap on back just like we did in that ebook to leave this audiobook and return to the shelf. And I'm going to reorient everyone again here. So we're going to go down to the bottom of the screen. You'll notice I have a new now reading bar. So it's always the last book that you have open in Libby. I'm going to dismiss it again. And right next to the shelf, we're going to talk about the timeline. So your shelf is your current loans and the books that you're currently on the waiting list for. Your timeline is going to be your history throughout the Libby app. So when you tap on timeline, you're going to see all of the history that you've had throughout Libby. That includes all of your loans, holds, renewals, and returns. So shelf are current. You can open up all those books and read or check your status on the waiting list. Timeline is your past or your history. All right, we're going to finish off the presentation today here, right in the center of that navigation bar with the Libby icon. Now, the Libby icon is the Libby menu. So you can think of this as your app settings if that helps keep it straight in your mind here. I'm going to tap on Libby's head. And the first thing I'm going to point out up at the top of the screen are our notifications. So we can see I currently have a loan that's due soon. I'm going to dismiss this by swiping it to the left. I have a few notifications here waiting for me. I'm going to continue swiping. Now, once I dismiss all of those notifications, you'll notice I have a Manage Notification button here on my screen. I'm going to pop into this menu to show you how Libby alerts you of important events in the app. Libby is going to actually bring this menu to you the very first time you place a hold. So you're not going to have to come and find it in this complicated way that I'm showing you here. But I want to open up this menu to show you what it's going to look like when Libby does prompt you to manage your notifications. As I mentioned, this is how you can be alerted about important events in Libby. There are 3 ways to be notified up at the top. By default, you will receive notifications with this blue notification option. This is a push notification, and push notifications appear on your device's screen regardless of what app you have open. So that means you could be reading the news or browsing Facebook, and if an important event happens, then it's going to show up on your screen like a text message would. You can switch the way that you receive the notification over to a menu badge if you'd like. That is going to be an in-app notification. And that means you have to open up Libby to see it. And we actually got a peek at what that looks like. The first indication was on Libby's head. There was a little circle with the number inside. And then once I tapped on the Libby menu, we opened up that menu badge, we opened up the Libby menu and it appeared up at the top of the screen in that little box. I was swiping them to the left to dismiss. That's what that menu badge option is going to look like. Of course, if you'd like, you can ignore certain notifications as well. Right below how you can be notified are all of the things you can be notified about. And the one I want to talk about today is Hold Ready. So when it's your turn on a wait list, Libby's going to give you a 3-day period where that book is sitting in limbo and you are the only person who can take action on it. In that 3-day period, you can either borrow the book, cancel the hold, or have the hold delivered later. What delivered later means is you choose a time period to stay at the top of the waiting list, and when that time period ends, you'll be the next person in line. Now, in that 3-day period, if you don't borrow, cancel, or deliver the title later, then Libby is going to automatically deliver the title later after 7 days as a courtesy. After that 7 days, you'll get another 3-day limbo period. And if you don't take one of those actions again, Libby's going to cancel your hold. That means you'll have to go and find the book again and rejoin the wait list. And it can really ruin your day if you've waited a couple weeks for the book and then you have to go back to the bottom. So that's why I really recommend your hold ready notification being set to that blue notification line, just to make sure that you get that notification no matter what, even if you don't open up Libby that day. All right, I'm going to come back up to the top here and I'm going to tap on back. Right below the notifications, you'll see your libraries. So you can see here in my demo account, I have 3 library cards attached to Libby. You can add as many libraries as you'd like to Libby, or library cards rather. That can be all from the same library if you have multiple people in your family who want to share a device and you don't want to fight over that loan or hold limit. You can also add additional libraries if they have OverDrive services and you have a valid library card to that library. So a good example is, if you have a city library card and a county library card, those are 2 digital collections that you could have access to. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about help and support. The first thing I want to talk about in this menu is settings. So you'll notice throughout the presentation, I have had labels underneath my navigation bar here. To turn those on, you're going to come into the settings, tap on Customize Navigation, and you'll toggle on the labeled icons down at the bottom. So you'll see when they're off, no labels, we just have icons there. I really recommend for new users just getting used to the app to toggle those labeled icons on, because it does help orient you as you navigate throughout. I'm going to come back up here and tap on back, do it one more time. And the last thing I want to talk about under help and support is get some help. So if you tap on get some help, there are a few different ways that you can get answers to questions or search for topics. The first way is kind of a self-guided help. So up at the top, you can see how can we help. Here you can ask a question or type in a keyword. Maybe you want to learn how to return books early. Now, titles do return on their due date, so you don't have to worry about late fees. This is automatic. But let's say you wanted to make sure that next person in line got the book once you were finished. You'll type in that keyword, tap on search, and Libby is going to give you articles that might be of value to you. So you can see here, returning books is what we're looking for. We can tap on that. And Libby is giving us the answer to how to return books early by giving us the directions here. Now, if trying to find that self-guided answer doesn't work, maybe you needed more information or you have a more complex question, you can always come down to Ask Our Support Team. This will connect you with OverDrive's technical support specialists. So they are Libby experts. They can answer any question you throw their way. And you can say you have a problem, a question, or an idea, and this will allow you to email with them back and forth and get any of your questions or troubleshooting solved. They are available, like I said, via email, and they usually respond within 24 hours. And that is everything that you need to know to get started with the Libby app. I'm going to hand it back over to Joe to get us into some next steps.
Thank you, Marissa. And I just wanted to flip over to this screen here. And I wanted to mention, of course, you can ask us questions throughout the remaining time we have together today, and you can even ask those questions anonymously. Just use that Q&A button in your Zoom meeting controls. In just a minute here, we will test your knowledge by hosting our mini quizzes. And